Do you hate going to the doctor? Do you self-medicate? If your answer is yes, then I've got some news for you. Your refusal to undergo a checkup, your denial perhaps to get a prescription, could be fueling a dangerous trend. Take the case of India. According to a new study, Indians are consuming illegal antibiotics, medicines that are not approved by the health authorities. And why is that? Because most Indians take antibiotics at will. They would much rather seek medical advice from their family or get a prescription from that friendly neighborhood chemist. So it shouldn't surprise you that unapproved antibiotics are circulating in the market. The question is, what can we do to stop this? Hello and welcome. You're watching Gravitas Plus. I am Gambhir. This week, Lancet released an eye-opening study, a study on the consumption of antibiotics in India. The revelations were striking. According to the report, India is the largest antibiotic consumer in terms of absolute volume. But India does not have a surveillance system to guide antibiotic use. And the result of that is worrying. We'll discuss that in a bit. First, let's get some basics clear. What are antibiotics? They are simply medicines that fight infections caused by bacteria, either by killing the bacteria or stopping it from multiplying. Next question, how should you consume antibiotics? By taking them exactly as the doctor says, not on the advice of your chemist or your friends. This is how it's done in most parts of the world, but not in India. In India, we don't mind taking high-intensity drugs without even consulting a proper doctor. We either go by the advice of friends and family or the recommendations of that chemist next door, no matter how dubious both their credentials might be. This is exactly what the Lancet study states, that Indians are consuming medicines without prescriptions. Who conducted this study? Researchers from Boston University in the United States and the Public Health Foundation of India. What did they base their study on? Data from PharmaTrack, a private sector drug sales data set, gathered from a panel of 9,000 representatives of antibiotic sales across India. This data says that in 2019, Indians consumed over 500 crore antibiotics. 500 crore. That's around 5 billion antibiotics. Indians consumed this figure in just 1 year. Which were the most used antibiotics? Number one is an antibiotic used for infections and cold. It was the most consumed antibiotic formulation at 7.6%. That is equal to some 384 million doses consumed annually. On the second spot was Cefixime, 200 mg tablet, an antibiotic used to treat strep throat. It was the second most consumed medication at 6.5%. That is equal to some 331 million doses consumed annually. The study says close to 50% antibiotic formulations that are sold in India's private sector are unapproved. And this also includes fixed dose combinations or FDCs. What are they? They are medicines that contain 2 or more active ingredients like calcium carbonate plus vitamin C. In India, 2 bodies look after the distribution of such drugs. The CDSCO, which is the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, and the SDRA, State Drug Regulatory Authorities. These 2 bodies share responsibility for pharmaceutical sale. Do you know how many fixed dose combinations have the approval of neither? Around 48.7%, meaning 48.7% FDCs sold in the Indian market are unapproved or are discouraged by the World Health Organization. In fact, India sells the highest number of unapproved FDCs, followed by China, West Africa, and Vietnam. That's not all. Some of you may have heard of macrolides and cephalosporins. They are both a certain class of drugs used for a wide range of infections. In India, 90% of macrolides and 61% of cephalosporins are sold in the market without the approval of the central agency, and this inevitably helps them get approval from the state governments, which have limited technical capacity to decide on the merit of approval. It is truly a sad state of affairs. Unapproved antibiotics are being sold in India for just everything: sore throats, respiratory problems, a stomach bug. The study says that this sort of ignorance and inappropriate use of medicines is a significant driver of antibiotic resistance in India. In other words, it is rendering medical drugs ineffective, making it harder for medicines to kill bacteria. Not just for cold and fever, but also for infections like pneumonia, tuberculosis, blood poisoning. They are all becoming harder and sometimes difficult to treat thanks to the use of unapproved antibiotics. You see, a chemist would only suggest a medicine, not the nitty-gritties like the dose, the right quantity, the time cycle. Doctors, on the other hand, prescribe an entire course for antibiotics, complete with high and low doses that are required to kill bacteria. If we are to kill the bacteria completely, we must complete the full course, not pop any medicine randomly. Let me simplify it further. You see, bacteria, like any microbial organism, multiply in favorable conditions and pass the DNA to their offspring. If we don't use effective medicines, if we don't prescribe a proper course, the bacteria develop a certain resistance to antibiotics and can pass this resistance on to their daughter cells. If we misuse, overuse, or underuse antibiotics, our chances to kill the bacteria go up for a toss, and this only weakens our immune system. It makes us ill-equipped to deal with future illnesses. This is what the study means by antibiotic resistance. In fact, India has one of the highest rates of resistance to antimicrobial agents. In 2021, the Indian Council of Medical Research came up with a study. It said that 50% of ICU patients battling a type of pneumonia will not respond to a powerful antibiotic. And over 3 out of 10 cases will not respond to an antibiotic used to fight a mutated form of E. coli. The same study also found the existence of common bacteria in over 65,000 patients, microbes that were not properly treated thanks to unapproved medicines. They now pose a problem in the treatment of life-threatening diseases. What does this tell you? The use of unapproved medicines is complicating recovery efforts for many diseases. This cannot continue. India needs to put in place certain mechanisms that prohibit the sale of unverified antibiotics and stop patients from relying on dubious pharmacists. If not, this antibiotic resistance will only become more severe. Think about it.